Hopefully a good week. I was telling Coach Bo there, he said, what kind of week you have? I said, well, hopefully a good one. I guess we'll find out tomorrow when we start playing the game. But we've had no distractions. We didn't have to put anybody on the bus and ship him home like we did last year. So it's been a good week. Nobody's missed curfew or anything like that. So hopefully our guys will be ready to play our best, and probably take to beat Nebraska. Very good, solid team, 9-3, and always a very difficult opponent to try to beat. They don't beat themselves, play fundamentally very well, and that's what we need to do if we're going to really be in the ball game with them. But other than that, Capital One Bowl, they do a super job. I was talking to President Witter over here a minute ago about how the Capital One Bowl has created more interest in bowl games in college football. 10, 20, 30 years ago, going to a bowl game was a reward for a good season. And, the guys played the game. You obviously wanted to win, but the importance of winning wasn't near like it is today. You notice every coach who wins the bowl game, they hit it with the Gatorade bucket. And usually, when you win a championship of some kind is when the coach gets hit with that. So these bowl games are very, very close to a championship type game. And both teams are usually all fired up and flying around. And we expect that will be the case tomorrow, certainly. So it's a big game for both schools, and we're looking forward to seeing if we can play well tomorrow.
All right, we'll do the Q&A. Once again, find the microphone.
Yeah, good question there. Connor Shaw's had a good week of practice. Throwing the ball around pretty well. Receivers are doing well. Alshon was able to practice the last, since we've been down here, he's been practicing. Didn't practice back in Columbia, but his hand should be pretty close to full speed, no problems there.
Steve, what's your sense of how much you can get out of Kyle Nunn tomorrow?
Can get out of who?
Kyle Nunn.
Kyle Nunn, correct. Kyle Nunn's going to start at left tackle and go as long as he can go. Kyle's a young man, for you Nebraska people, that had back surgery in the middle of the season. His last game was against Vanderbilt, I think about the 4th game of the year. So he's rehabbed. I don't know how good his stamina conditioning will be, but he'll go as long as he can there at left tackle. So Kyle's excited to be playing. He's a 5th-year senior. Was no way to get the medical red shirt, so he's excited to be playing.
Steve, will DJ be able to play? Swear.
Yeah, DJ was able to practice the last couple of days. He's got that sprained foot, and he doesn't practice a lot, but he's able to play in the games. So he's had 3 or 4 weeks to help it heal up a bit, and he's scheduled to start. Go as long as he can.
Any change on Terrence's availability?
Terrence is still hopping around. Whether or not he can play a series or 2, we'll just have to wait and see tomorrow.
Just from top to bottom, Steve, is this the best team you've built in South Carolina? Athletically?
The best team?
Yes.
Well, at the beginning of the season, we felt like it was the best group of athletes we put together. And obviously our record is best since I've been there, so I guess you could say that. We did finish 3rd in the conference in defense and about 5th in offense, which is higher than most years. I think the highest maybe in the years I've been there. So you might say that. That's up for you people to write that. Usually as coaches, we like to sort of say one of the best. And obviously if we're successful tomorrow, it will go down in the history books as the best. No question about that. Whether or not talent-wise or this, that, and the other is the best, you never know. But a lot of times, some teams might not have as many first-round picks or NFL guys, and they achieve more. So I really believe this team has achieved just about the most it possibly could, and hopefully we'll find out tomorrow.
Hey, Coach, what have you seen from Nebraska's defense on film?
Nebraska's defense on tape played a lot of man-to-man, maybe a little bit more man-to-man SEC teams play. So we expect them to do what they've been doing. It's hard to change a whole bunch, but we'll see if that continues into tomorrow's game. Yeah, Bo Pelini got an excellent track record as a defensive coordinator, and he pretty much runs the defense. He's not one of those head coaches that stands over and watches the game. He's actively involved in running the defense. So he's got a track record. They do a good job.
Hey Steve, I'm sure that going into the last 3 bowl games you thought you guys had the proper focus, but looking back, were you concerned about the leadership among the players, and what's the difference this year?
Yeah, we don't look back a lot. We just got beat. That's one way to say it. Didn't play very well, had some turnovers, had some stuff happen, and that's history. The game tomorrow should be decided on which team plays the best, which team plays the fewest mistakes, maybe makes some big plays in that. And every team's different. Each year, even though you return a lot of the guys, there's different aspects, different leaders, and so forth. So we'll see how this team plays in the bowl game. Gotta wait and see.
Steve, is Connor the best runner you've had at quarterback? Is it even close?
Connor, as a runner, I would say he's probably one of the best, probably the fastest that I've been able to coach over the years. But our style of offense is different than what I used to coach also. So the zone read stuff, which almost every team's doing, and Martinez at Nebraska, he runs it very well also, as you'll see tomorrow. So yeah, I would say Connor's probably as good a running quarterback as I've been able to coach.
Steve, in this day and age when most college programs have an offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator that handle the play calls, can you comment on you kind of handling the offense for South Carolina and Bo Pelini kind of doing the same thing on the defensive side for Nebraska, the head coaches kind of calling plays and what their specialty is?
Yeah, it's interesting that defensive coordinators, they're all getting hired as head coaches now. I look around and say, what happened to all of us offensive guys? How come these guys aren't getting hired as head coaches, it seems like. But, and then it's always surprising to me that if a guy was an offensive coordinator in college, as an assistant coach, and then he gets a head job, why doesn't he continue doing that? But a lot of them, or several of them don't. I don't know how many. But obviously, as a defensive coach gets a head job, he's got to hire the offensive coach. But I always figured I got to be the head coach for one reason. The offenses we had at Duke in 80, 81, 82 were pretty good. And that's the reason I got to be a head coach. So if I could hire somebody I thought was better at doing it than I could, then I would do that. And at times I sort of say, hey, you call the plays. And then by halftime, I usually take over because I don't know, it's just not. But anyway, if it goes bad, I want it on me. I don't want to blame the assistant coach. And sometimes it goes bad, as we all know.
Coach Bo Pelini was talking just a little bit about, your style of coaching and what he knows about you. I guess, what do you know about Bo over the years and what he's been able to do? Yeah,
I haven't been around Bo that much except this week, to tell you the truth. But he grew up in Youngstown with all the Stoops brothers. And I was talking to my wife, and I said, all the Stoops brothers and Bo, they're all defensive coaches. They're all these hybrid guys out of Youngstown. I don't know if they teach offensive ball up there in Youngstown. I'm trying to find one of those guys. But just knowing a little bit through the Stoops brothers and so forth, I know of him, and able to spend a little time with him this week. Not a whole lot. In fact, I really have enjoyed this whole week. Capital One folks have not scheduled a whole bunch of events at night for the teams and so forth. So we've had a lot more free time than most of the bowl games.
Steve, what's your impression of how Lorenzo has handled the defense this week since he's got it to himself for the first time? And will he call the game similarly to the way Ellis Johnson will call?
Well, thus far he's done very well. Thus far, and we'll find out tomorrow how well it goes. But we got about all of our guys healthy, ready to play. I think we got a decent game plan, and again, we got gotta go play it. But the main thing is to try to get our guys in position and let them go play. And that's what we've done pretty well most of the year, is not have any confusion. And Lorenzo and we think a lot alike philosophy-wise, coverages and stuff like that. We're on the same page. So I think over the long haul, he's going to do a very good job.
Steve, you mentioned earlier about a win tomorrow, and it's the greatest season, for USC ever with 11 wins. But also, what will it do as far as sustaining the momentum of what you've been able to do these past 2 seasons?
Well, again, let's don't get ahead of ourselves. We haven't beaten anybody in a bowl game in a long time. We haven't won anything tomorrow. We'll wait till after tomorrow before we start looking ahead. What we need to think about is blocking and tackling and throwing to the right guy and catching and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully our guys are just ready to go play some ball tomorrow, have fun, and play smart, discipline, all that kind of stuff. That's really the only thing we need to think about. And that's what we've tried to emphasize. Just play the game the way we played the last 3 or 4, Clemson, Florida, and all of them down the stretch.
Coach, there are Nebraska fans visiting this week, South Carolina fans visiting this week, but there are a lot of Steve Spurrier fans that live here. Can you talk about the locals that will be in the stands tomorrow and support you and your team?
Oh, I don't know how many will be here for that. I know that my buddies here that are Gators have not bought their tickets to go to Jacksonville, but they're not coming to this game either, so I don't know how many Gators are going to be here. But if they are and pulling for us, we appreciate it. But other than that, we'll have plenty of Gamecock fans here. I think we sold just about all of our tickets, so we're excited about the Gamecocks being in the stands.
Steve, a little off topic as we get closer to the Alabama-LSU rematch. You were involved in one of those for the national title. Is there anything different about preparing for a rematch game when the stakes are so high? And are you a fan of that?
The rematch game, well, it's the way we do it in college football, as you know, without a playoff system. They rank them down and the top 2 teams play. And those are the top 2 teams. But yeah, I think that game's a toss-up game going in. And can LSU keep doing it time after time after time? If they do, they really deserve to be known as one of the great teams of all time, because LSU has beaten a lot of good teams. They don't look overly impressive at times, like first half against Georgia, but in the long run, they have really been a dominant college football team this year. So if they can do it one more time, you got to give them credit. Going down the history books as one of the all-time greats, I think, if they can.
Steve, this is probably a follow-up to kind of Sean's question earlier, but what kind of remnants of some of that old Florida stuff's in your offense these days, and knowing how defense has changed, what's the level of difficulty to try and maybe do that full-time now if you did?
Well, we've got good assistant coaches, and Sean Elliott, our offensive line coach, really brought sort of the zone reads, some run plays that we're doing now. And obviously, if your quarterback can run with the ball, it gives you don't have to block one guy, sort of. So it's really, I think, the wave of the future. I really do. I think this kind of offense is better maybe than what we used to do. The defenses are all over the place now, and I think you really need to be able to run the ball effectively. Certainly we do in the SEC to be successful. So he pretty much puts the run game together, and I send him in, and my son Steve Jr., G.A. Mangus, we all sort of put the pass game in together and go from there. So I got a lot of excellent assistants that help out with the offense.
Coach, there were times this week where you said the team wasn't as sharp as it needed to be. Maybe there's some of the other things going on when you come down here. Do you feel like you've got that remedy and that their focus is where it needs to be and they're going to be able to play with us game tomorrow?
Well, that was that one day. The next day we were a little sharper. First day down here, thought we were pretty sharp. Next day, a little sloppy. Next day, maybe got it back a bit, but who knows? Hopefully we'll wake up tomorrow morning and everything will be clicking.
Just following up on your comment about offenses today, are you saying that the days of the play action pass that you love and the deep ball are gone?
I'm saying today when the quarterback can't run, it's difficult. It's difficult. Now, Alabama's winning with non-running quarterbacks, but it's difficult. It's more difficult. If you've got a guy like R.G. Griffin III, who's a national champ high hurdler, I guess he runs about 4.4 or something like that. They can throw the way he can throw. Yeah, those are the guys that I think can dominate. But still, there's places for quarterbacks who are really great decision makers and excellent passers and things like that in college football. But if you have one that can run and pass, that gives you the best chance, I believe.
Any other questions?
Coach Bellini said Capital One Bowl ranks up at the top. How do you how was your bowl week?
Coach Bellini said what now?
Said that the Capital One Bowl ranked up at the top of bowls he's been to. So how do you feel your week has been?
Well, it's the top of the bowls since I've been in South Carolina. This is the highest rated bowl with the biggest payout that we've ever been to in school history. So it's certainly the best there. As far as all those BCS bowls, they're all good ones. Obviously, whoever wins the game, they really think that was a great bowl. And if you don't win it, well, it was another good one. But yeah, this is a first-class group of people down here. We've enjoyed the week, and hopefully things will work out tomorrow.